everyone, and welcome to Schrodinger's Bathtub. With me, as always, I have the wonderful almost a Dr. Matt. Hi, Matt. And,
Hello, everyone.
And our special guest for this week, we got Chris, the atheist pastor. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Hey, I am doing sensational. It's been way too long since I've visited your channel, Jen, which is bad because you visit mine like every week.
You and Steve, when we were talking about is atheism? Can atheists be religious? Like, I think that's what we were talking about last time you were on my channel.
I think so. Yeah,
something along those lines. Anyway, it was fun.
Oh, that reminds me. I'm assuming both of you have seen the census questions, and did you see how in other religions it lumped atheism?
Yes, I did. You have to actually write in atheist. If you tick non-religious, it doesn't count you as being an atheist. You actually have to write atheist into it.
Yeah, but doesn't the
No, they deliberately separated it.
Yeah, I found that weird. I know you can tick non-religious. This is what I did because I don't
think it matters anyway. But I write atheist.
So I just noticed that as it was weird.
There were some weird things in the census, but there always is weird things in censuses. Just depends who makes up the questions, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, look,
should have put Pastafarian in or something like that. That's what we should have done.
See, that's what. Maybe that's why Chris is still a pastor. Pastafarian.
Well, at one point, I do remember many years ago, I put Jedi down as the religion when that was the big thing many years ago.
I remember that.
Didn't they have enough people doing it that they had to make it a legitimate option?
They very quickly changed the rules not long after, and it had to be have an organised structure and all these other boxes that got ticked. So
which is, I guess, why they didn't want to put atheists up top. But why wouldn't you do that instead of non-religious?
Well, because you could be agnostic or just someone who genuinely doesn't know or doesn't care. And I think most Australians aren't necessarily atheists. They don't really care. They don't give thought to it. It's not a part of life. They don't go to church. They don't think about it.
Yeah.
Or it might be more relaxed than what you would think of as typical religious. But what I think is then shouldn't they have then done like subcategories for none then? Like that would have worked better. But I always found that weird because often they separate them.
You'll have a lot of people as well that don't want to who are actually atheists, who don't want to identify as atheists because of the political connotations that are attached to it, and the way that I guess certain mainstream or high-profile atheists will react. Like I know a heap of people who are as atheists as I am. But would never call themselves atheist. They just call themselves secular. So
a lot of people do.
No, I get that.
There's got a bit of baggage attached to it.
I imagine if I was, and I know this is public, so people can see this, but the same thing. I think if I was on public media, I would prefer to go with the non-religious than specifically atheist, because again. Even if by the formal definitions I would meet that term, I think in terms of presenting the general public, it's easier to say like none of the above. It's just
of course, just obviously after the prayer the other day, we should have all put religious because we got prayed out of atheism. So
it wasn't.
Maybe that's why atheist was under religion.
No.
That's one way to do it, isn't it? If they turn atheism into a religion, it's not they've won their prayer.
I think it was actually you that said it last night on the Six Pack pre-show, Matt. That the atheists actually got together and we prayed against their prayer.
Yeah, there was that. The people who organised it actually tweeted that. We have to get more people praying to stop to get rid of atheism because the atheists are praying.
You do know the group that organised it, though, is a parody group, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I love it. I think it's awesome. We have quite a few people in the chat there. Hi, GA Sam, Nerdy, Sandy. Hi, Sir Sick. Long time no see. How are you doing? We have Dave. We've got Vesta Freya. All of us, obviously.
Yeah,
we've got Ring.
Hi,
Ring.
Video.
Oh yeah. Oh, Sir Six been on a video on my channel before. Well, he was supposed to record something for it, but he forgot.
Actually, I actually have the guy I debated the other week. Well, if you can call it a debate, because I'm not sure you can.
Debate.
But some of his videos might be right up Sir Six alley.
Oh, it certainly would.
I think I've watched most of Sir Six videos in the last year, like twice each or something. I do like watching them. Sorry, I normally don't do that to people who show up, but yeah, I have watched a lot of them.
And Atheist,
I do like them if he's still there in the chat.
So Sick, if you're still in the chat, Matt and I would love to have you on one week to have a chat with you, because that would be a lot of fun.
Well, hopefully this streamed up the right alley for most people. I think most people in the chat will enjoy it. This also, I just noticed there's someone called Atheist Pastor in the chat.
Oh wow, I've never seen him before.
Oh yeah, I thought it's probably. I realised I was using the Hereticals one, and I thought it's probably easier for people who don't necessarily know what Hereticals is. I just use Atheist Pastor, so I've actually set up Atheist Pastor as a second channel that I'm going to start uploading stuff to as well. So actually, I was going to say if you want to give it the wrench, that way I can share stuff in there.
I'm not there.
Yeah, wrench me.
I'm not as organised as that, Chris.
I haven't seen Critical here yet, but he was the first wrench on my channel. But
yeah, you should have.
I think he's the first wrench on everyone's channel, Dave.
Yeah,
he
was just there, and I was like, "Oh, look, I need a wrench." But I only ever do premieres because I don't do live stuff yet. So we'll see. But
and I know I'm not bringing up. I know I'm not bringing up anyone's chats at the moment. I'm trying to pay attention, but we sort of need to get going.
Critical's in the chat.
Yep. Yeah, he's in the chat.
Sorry, if I appear to be interrupting people, apologies. My internet's been a bit spotty today. It could be that. So I'm sorry if I don't.
It's all right, Matt. We forgive you.
Me too. That's my excuse for interrupting people.
No. You're done.
My excuse is I'm a bitch.
So usually I can use look, I'm on the other side of the planet, so if it
doesn't work today. But StreamYards is, so we blame StreamYards.
Well, look, I reckon there's at least 100 Ks between me and Matt. So
and there's a continent between us. The rest.
There we go. Well, there we go. I can talk over you.
It's all about me. It's all my fault. Blame Jen.
That's the one.
It's going to end up in the chat now. Blame Jen.
Hashtag blame Jen.
Yep. So this week we're going to be talking about the failures of young Earth creationists, especially in terms of science and history. This is partly because last week Chris had a nice chat with Untangelo.
Is that
you need that.
No, that's I haven't got Caribbean. This is just Doublewood, the 12-year.
Yeah.
Okay. They've got a triple wood 12-year, but you can only get it duty free. So
you got a 12-year wood.
It's nice.
You should probably see a doctor, Matt, if you got a 12-year wood.
Hey,
it's double wood.
Oh, double wood.
But it can't compete with a certain Buddhist member that we're all familiar with, or most people on this channel would be familiar with.
Oh, that's the guy who stole my channel.
I don't let him on here anymore. He might steal my channel. I don't trust that guy.
Oh, well.
I love that.
Only uphill from here.
All right, it's all downhill from here.
You put me and Jen in the stream, and anything can happen. So
yeah, we're gonna have fun, people.
Although we're upside down, so our uphill is downhill, and our downhill.
No, everyone else is upside down.
No, see, we're the right way around.
Yeah, they're
all those.
No, we don't exist.
Northern Hemisphere. Yeah, well, shh. Come on, man.
Don't tell them about the bunker.
We're all in the bunker, trapping all their children, making them watch Bluey, converting them slowly.
Skippy the bush kangaroo.
We're saying crikey before we know it.
Flipper the skipping dolphin. Yep.
Ring thinks I'm a shark. No, Ring, I am not a shark. I just attach lasers to their heads, according to another member who is also in the chat. We all know who you are.
All right, to get back to topic, tonight's going to be difficult.
So, before we start, I just want to warn you all, I am not a scientist by any means. I suck at science, but I do have Google and I do have The Guardian up. So,
you're going to be well ahead of Matt and I then.
Facts, I've got The Guardian ready to go.
Okay, excellent. Excellent.
If I squeaked this every time someone mentioned The Guardian, I don't think we'd hear too much. But
no, we'll turn it into a drinking game.
No, I'm not healthy.
It doesn't show up on the camera, but I do have my little drinks cart next to me.
We're gonna get Matt drunk.
I'm ready. Actually, it's, as my friends have tried before, it's surprisingly difficult.
Really?
Not
that sounds like a
impossible,
challenge.
but it is.
When you stick to the one drink, and generally if you're a whiskey drinker, you'll have a pretty good tolerance for it.
Mm.
I think it's just one of those things that you really sort of, it's just practice makes perfect. And having seen some of the stuff you're drinking, I assume you're well practiced.
Yeah, but I tend to prefer to have fewer, nicer drinks rather than more.
No. What you do, the trick is you drink the good stuff at the start of the night, and then you switch to the shit later, because at that point you don't care.
Well, within reach, I think this is the worst I've got. I don't have many bottles, by the way, but there we go. I'm probably making a few people in the chat jealous.
All right.
The shivers.
Can I take this show back?
No, Jen, we're stealing it.
Yeah, you definitely have.
Yeah, this isn't about you. Just behave yourself, or we'll kick you from the channel.
I also have something to go with the whiskey.
They're nice. I
Not letting Jen move on.
So
Sorry, everyone.
All right, so
spring water.
So last week, Chris had to suffer with D'Angelo not understanding anything about history.
It was so funny when he went down the history path with me. I'm just like, are you sure you want to go this way? Really? Are you sure? But he has a blog. So
he has a blog, and he pointed you to the blog despite the fact that you've got all those history books behind you.
Yeah. So I said to him, I can give you some archaeological books, and I can provide you with a heap of evidence. But I have a blog. You click on the link and read it. That's just what I want to do during a conversation. Okay, well, just give me 10 minutes to read your garbage.
Which is actually why I think tonight will be useful for tomorrow, because hopefully it means that he can't pull that. Not in the sense that I'm trying to go for any got you, but at least the conversation might move forward. If it's like, yes, we've already read it, let's talk about something specific. What do you want to go with?
Yeah, so I think you need to do that. You need to hold his feet to the fire a little bit, just so that without being rude to him, because he's generally not rude. No.
I do it. Yeah, I do it in the same way that I tried to do it with Matt the other week, where it wasn't that like I would get angry or pissed. It was just like, no, we're staying on this topic.
Yeah,
direct but kind, because
his never attack to Chris ended up being, well, if I can't do Chris with history and the Bible itself, I'm going to talk about science, which is what Chris didn't want to talk about. Because he's like, I'm not a scientist. I'm the wrong person to talk about. So
I said, why don't we talk about something we both know, which is going to be the Bible? You're a Christian apologist. You know the Bible. Let's talk about the Bible, and let's talk about what's in the Bible and where there's some errors. Physics.
To which point I hopped in the back of the chat, and Chris asked him, I said, all right, if I bring Jen in, and I just schooled him on a couple of bits of physics. Not that it was hard when you have a basic understanding of physics, but it's not Chris's field. It's not the thing that he's going to know about, and it's an unfair situation when you already know that this isn't an area that somebody's good at. Keep the topics to the topics that work. If you want to talk about the other things, talk to somebody else. So I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to steer away from physics because he knows he's talking to somebody who knows what they're talking about.
I mean, that being
that's
said,
right. That's right. I'll be there if he goes history. Or the
just
Bible.
be ready to drop in, Chris.
Well,
I
I'm
do
going to be
like
moderating the chat.
I do like my history. I'm definitely not an expert. Just it sounds like we're echoing each other's points, but just the different areas. But I do like my history. I do pay a lot of attention, so I can hold a conversation about it. But I can't give too much information. Till links, not drinks. Drinks, just find a sober driver. What? Sorry, I was just looking at that.
Hi, Claire.
Still a few people.
Look at Claire's dangerous. Claire,
Nerdy, I love you.
and Nerdy, thank you. I need that subscription to the Guardian. It's all those classes at university, all that experience working on the actual draft legislation doesn't compete with the Guardian.
It doesn't. It doesn't. So,
although I am half expecting one day to have a delivery of a giant tank of water with a shark in it one day to my door with just a little note, "Dear almost a doctor from Nerdy, you know what I want."
So,
we all want, yeah.
So my question is, where do you want to start, Matt? Do you want to start with a bit of the history stuff that he that he threw at Chris, or should we start with his ideas on the Big Bang theory?
I think we should start with the science. Can, and then maybe the history can be at the end, depending on how much time. Because I think we've been running around in circles a bit with the chat people, for those in the chat and watching. So why don't we try physics? Did you want to start with the blog or just go around some of the general things he said first? Happy to. Have I frozen?
No.
No.
It's something. Windows decided to pump something over the top.
You asked us a question, and I don't think we know the answer. It's too late for us. All
right. Sorry about that, people. I got confused by my computer.
With the science side of things, I'm going to let you two completely guide this. I'm just going to kind of sit here and just nod and smile.
Nod your head. Okay, so basically, when he went to his went to physics to try and blindside Chris, his first point of call when Chris said, "Where's your evidence?" was to again just point to his blog. And if your evidence is going to be your own blog and not scientific papers, then sorry, you lose straight up.
I do just want to point out, though, I did get him to concede that evolution was true.
That was nice.
Sort of.
When I sort of took him down that path, and I said, "So what you're saying is it's a change or a mutation that led to the Neanderthals from humans?" Yes. So that's evolution. Oh yes.
Actually,
yeah, but
that is one thing I can sort of talk on that's outside of physics. Is I can kind of do some paleontology because I've spent a long time looking at it. I haven't quite read any Guardian articles on it yet. That's the next level up.
Yeah.
But even what he was saying with that, like the arguments that they're deformed humans, is just not the case. We have far too many fossils, and we've sequenced their genome. We actually found, and even though he said, one or two in Europe, but that's actually not where we get all our fossils from. Yes, we have quite a few in Europe because that was their main range. But where it overlapped with humans was in the Middle East, and we can actually see what happens when we interbred with Neanderthal. I think technically it's meant to be Neanderthals because it's after the location where the fossils were, the first fossils were found.
The Neander Valley. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've even found hybrids that were they were human. Well, Neanderthals were humans. So when it's Homo sapiens, where one of the grandparents was actually a Neanderthal. And I forget which way around it goes, because you can't just have any male and female of either Neanderthal or Homo sapien mix. I think it was, you had to have there was some barrier where you couldn't do male and female, but I forget which way around it went. No.
It's the majority of what we've found, and see, this is an area I can go into because of the archaeological side of things. So most of the fossils we've found have a a Homo sapien mother with a Neanderthal father. That seemed to be the most common. So it's probably thought that it might have been not necessarily consensual along those lines. But pretty much all Europeans have got roughly about 4% Neanderthal DNA. And depending on what part of Europe you're from or how long ago your ancestors were in Europe. It's a bit of a funny thing with Europe. People look at Europe and think that where the English are, there's always been English, or the Scandinavians, there's always been Scandinavians.
No, they've moved around like crazy.
There was a lot of
especially when Doggerland was there. Sorry, I got to bring up Doggerland.
Yeah, exactly, exactly right. But the majority, I mean, like, say the Celts, for instance, the Celts, as far as we can tell, originated in Switzerland, and they were in, and they moved out to Turkey. They were in,
they covered most of Europe.
Everywhere. They were down in the Iberian Peninsula. So the Celts were everywhere. So it's not just, it's people look at it in too much of a modern lens. But one thing he said, or he implied, was that the origin of humanity came from Turkey, and he had some blog post that led to that. And I will tell you right, that is not the case. It's definitely
there isn't a single scientist that I know of who thinks humans came from Turkey,
apart from a Tangelo's friend, who is a scientist.
Again, but this, so when you, and this is something I'll try tomorrow, we'll see how it goes, but when you ask for evidence, it's not, well, this can't have been the case. I don't care. When you say evidence, it doesn't need to be in a science paper, even for me. I don't care if you show me the raw data and say, look, I measured this, I got it by X, Y, and Z, and with all of these other measures in place, and we took this measurement. The hypothesis was this, we measured this fits with our results here, and here's the explanation.
This is the bit they really don't understand about it, because it wouldn't matter if something like evolution is proved wrong, or if the Big Bang Theory is shown to be wrong. We're not going to lose evolution. It's not the whole thing's going to be wrong. That we're going to still have evolution. It'll just be different because it changes over time because science learns new things.
Our
Big Bang Theory is
evolution
can be inaccurate.
Can't be proven wrong, though. That's the thing. It can't be proven wrong.
No.
It's how it works, or our understanding of how it works can change.
Yes.
But we know for a fact a lineage. We know that there were other human species. We know that there's a common ancestor. We can track it back to the mitochondrial Eve. We know that the earliest human fossils are in sort of around that Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi kind of region.
The Tong Child is one of that reminds me of. If anyone wants an interesting read or find a few nice videos, if anyone looks up the Tong Child, it's a really good. It's also a great example of how science gets a better picture as it goes on, and how we improve our understanding with more information.
Exactly.
I won't spoil it too much here, but that's a good one. Sorry, I think I interrupted there, but I get excited at this topic. I love paleontology.
This is going to be one of those streams where we're getting too excited.
You've got a Unity ticket here. This is like the one bit of science I can actually talk about. This is good.
I can do it too. But I like it. But yeah, we know that now. We don't have all of the pieces, but in terms of saying that they were human in the same, because I think. And this is one of the problems I find that we have these debates. You have to be very careful. It's why I think with Matt, I kept saying, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? Because the terms they use are not what we use. So if you're talking about science or biology, which I probably can't say we because I'm not part of biology, but if you want to talk about anthropology, human history, human doesn't mean just the current people alive today. As Chris was saying, there are lots of human species. There has been probably dozens of them. We haven't found all of them yet either. But there was one I read a couple of years ago. So in 2019, there was a new one found in the Philippines. Not Homo floresiensis, if anyone's wondering about the Hobbit. That's the Hobbit one they found in Indonesia on the island of Flores, which is how it gets its name. But there are human species that left Africa well before Homo erectus, our ancestor, did, or at least... Well, Homo erectus spans a long time, so it's hard to say, this one species left. It was
the thing is, leaving wasn't just one leaving.
Claim that Homo erectus is.
There was lots of exoduses out of Africa at different stages Homo erectus and other ones left and went to different areas and evolved separately because they're in
and we can
different
track
areas.
it.
Yeah.
In fact, there may have been hominoidea species. So I think it's the tribe hominoidea. Forget it. It's the one above hominin. So it's the next one up. So it includes like the Australopithecines, and we have them in Europe. So it looks like some of our really, really early, like very ape-looking ancestors. I know we still are apes, but like the more monkey-style ape image that you'd have that normally comes to mind, at least move to Europe. There's no evidence they're our direct ancestors, though, but there is evidence that they were there as well. It's the point
where young Earth creationists stop saying human and start going ape when they're pointing at skulls.
Yes, except it's... I think what's the definition when you have young Earth creationists where some of them say it's ape and the others say it's human? You know you found a transition when they can't agree what it is. But that's the point, because it is in the middle, but it's like you're taking snapshots, you're taking photos, tiny pieces in time where you just get a flash of what's going on in the dark, and that's how a lot of science does work. We can't get all of yes, I did. No one noticed.
Sorry, I got rid of it. Did you want that back up?
No. I think I've made the point of that. Sorry. Where was I going again? Oh, that's right. And so it's a process, but we have a lot of fossil information, but they're also recent enough that we can sequence their DNA. And it's like checking Ancestry. It's not just we found one or two of these. We have found literally thousands across human species. Like Homo erectus would look like it is about as broad as all the different species of dogs if you're looking at anything that's human-like.
Yeah.
It's, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's about 1 million years that Homo erectus spans for. And it wasn't like there were other species that arose up at the same time, because it's not a nice linear process. But the differences are massive in the skull size. Like
we are very homogenous as a species now compared to even what we were 20,000 years ago.
Mm.
And mostly through interbreeding.
Well, it's interesting because there was a lot of other human species out there, and I guess there still are some traces. The Denisovians are an interesting one. Actually, Indigenous Australians have got a high concentration of Denisovian DNA.
Yeah.
But the Denisovians, they were in Asia before Homo sapiens were in Europe. So before probably Neanderthals were in Europe. So we were, as a species, we were kind of the last one to get out. Really, I think we
were the last dog out of the gate.
Yeah, and look, that's probably because we probably pushed a lot of the other species out along the way. We sort of forced them out of Africa into Europe, into Asia, and then as we sort of got forced and as we sort of started to migrate, we just sort of continued that pattern. But it's I think getting back to Tangelo.
Yes,
Tangelo, his implication was that humans originated in Turkey. And that the Neanderthals, Denisovians, etc., they were just like mutated. They were like just humans that had like mutations, and then they had children. So their children had
because they were all sons of Noah.
Yeah, I think he was. Oh no, actually, I don't think he mentioned the sons of Noah. I mean, he probably
did at one point. I couldn't remember if it was about that or about the.
I mean, that's where you would have to go if he's taking the Noachian flood quite literally. And that's why he would say we all come from Turkey, from Mount Ararat, because I think that's where he was going. I don't know if he got there.
Oh, no, he certainly got to Mount Ararat because he started talking about the ark being
I know he got to Mount Ararat, but...
Yeah, because there's wood on a mountain in Turkey, so therefore the ark, because it couldn't be anything else. But no, I don't think he got there. I know that a common young Earth thread is the flood killed a lot of like the Neanderthal, and they were sort of like the tainted, the sons of Cain sort of thing that were tainted, and that's why they were sort of disfigured and so forth.
But they're not disfigured.
I know that, but the young Earth creationists don't understand that.
Yeah, and the thing is with like Neanderthals in particular, because they actually, like us, buried their dead. We have quite a few of their fossils that we found.
Yeah.
We have found disfigurements in Neanderthals. So not only can we tell what a normal Neanderthal is, but we can tell when something was wrong with them.
Yeah,
and in fact, that's how we know they looked after each other. Because we have found injuries and other deformities that may have been genetic or just arose just because of the harsh conditions that you live in pre-medicine or pre-city type when you're just out in the open. And we know that on many occasions they looked after each other. Neanderthals were very, very human.
We found them with where we know they've had broken limbs and the limbs have healed, but if they'd broken the limb and hadn't been looked after by other Neanderthals, they would have died. So they were,
they're also very recent, and that's the other thing. It's like the
there were still Neanderthals 20,000 years ago.
About 40, I think. 40,000.
Is it 30?
Yeah.
I think, Gibraltar was about their last holdout out in some of the mountains around there.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're still not sure exactly what got rid of them, but like most things, it probably wasn't one factor. And to some extent, they never entirely disappeared because some of their genetics is still alive in us. You could theoretically backbreed humans, so that is selectively breeding humans specifically to get those genes back out. You could get a Neanderthal again it'd take quite a few generations.
Your favourite friends in the chat, Chris.
Hey Gary, I'm sorry.
No.
Hey, Darthy boy. Good to see you, mate.
Is this the real Darth or is this Gary?
Who knows?
I don't even know. I'm not even convinced that there's only one Darth Dawkins. I think there's multiple Darth Dawkins. I think it's like
they've been breeding.
Secret societies. like Spartacus. I am Darth Dawkins. No, I am Darth Dawkins.
I'm Darth Dawkins.
Will the
and so
real
is my
Darth
wife.
Dawkins please stand up? Please stand up.
Anyway, hello Darth. Good to see you.
Wibbly wobbly bibbly wibbly stuff. Well done, Rick.
Yeah.
All right, shall we get to physics? Because it's been good having a sidetrack on evolution and
yes,
Neanderthals. That's been fun. I'm glad we're
taking longer than usual to get to the point. But for that, did you want to try his blog post, or at least we can read out bits of it and go from there, so we try and stay on.
So let's go with his problems of the Big Bang Theory.
Yes, I have that up. I don't know if you'll fit it on screen. Do you want me to read any of it out, or would someone else like to have that on?
You can have a bit of a read.
So for everybody watching, we have
it up on the screen.
His blog post. It does look a lot of Control-C, Control-V, and I don't mind that for sources. And he has put a few links in there, but we'll see how it goes. But let's have a look at the first point. Now, this is reading from the blog. 2 main points concur with the Bible. 1. The universe had a beginning back some time ago. And 2, it formed by initial expansion, or, as the Bible puts it, it was stretched out. Don't think it puts it quite like that. But, maybe I'm confused. Either way, back to reading. But besides these 2 main facts that converge with the Bible, there are many unanswered questions and open questions. I am reading this as accurately as I can. The Big Bang Theory is maybe the most successful and well-accepted fairy tale story of science.
Oh, wow.
It is just... It took it to the second line to have a go at evolution.
Are we surprised?
Despite the fact it has nothing to do with Big Bang, but he could be referring to evolution in the same way Kent Hovind does it, so...
Oh, you mean I'm
happy to be
of evolution? There's cosmic evolution, and
I hate that when he does that.
Water.
the most part, if Atangelo tries it tomorrow, I'll just be like, all right, but that's not what I'm talking about. When I talk about evolution, we're talking about biology. We're talking about this today. I think that's probably the nicest way to do it, because otherwise it gets semantics. As long as it's made clear to everyone in the chat what we're talking about. I keep saying chat. I mean anyone watching, not just those who are in the chat. Sorry, I'm focusing on the chat too much. Sorry, where was I? It is full of just so made up stories. This is hard to read. The only thing that is probably true of it is the fact that it predicts an absolute beginning of the universe and inflation. It doesn't. I can come back to that. Dark matter, etc., was invented to explain the flatness problem, etc.
Yeah, it wasn't.
That's the first two ones. Ow.
Yeah,
this is not going to get better, I don't think. But
I don't understand most of what.
But let's start with the dark matter thing. Dark matter wasn't. Dark matter isn't an invention. We're not saying when we say dark matter, it means that there's some sort of matter, some sort of baryonic matter that has gravity or an effect or some sort of effect in the universe that has the appearance of baryonic matter, which will create gravity. Because we can see the effects of that gravity in the large structures of the universe. So that's all it means. Dark matter just means we don't know what it is because we haven't seen it. Because whatever this matter is, it doesn't give off anything we can see.
Yes, and that's where the term dark comes from, is that it doesn't appear on the visible, like any part of the electromagnetic spectrum. So it doesn't have light that interacts with it. And there are plenty of things that do that. But unlike what seems to be a lot of the public opinion about it, at least the public understanding generally in the media, at least from what I've seen, scientists, particularly because I've got friends who study this, there are a lot of...
Sorry, Matt.
We have a huge understanding, and there are a lot of people who are working on it. We actually it's to the point where it's like dark matter has to be one of these things. If it's got these properties, it's this. If it's got these properties, it's this. And so we're testing for it. It's not as though it's like, some mystery that we plugged in to explain why we can't see a good portion of the universe. We know it's there. We have a good understanding of how it works. It just doesn't. We just can't bounce any radiation off it, which makes it hard for us to study exactly what's going on. And yes, we don't know exactly what makes it up, but guess what? We didn't know what lightning was at one point. That doesn't mean science stops or that everything else with the Big Bang is wrong. In fact, Big Bang, I find, is not the greatest term to use in this case, because that's... I'll excuse how the term came around.
By a Catholic priest who kind of did it as a joke.
Yeah, he didn't like the idea, but in terms of where it goes, I don't really mind that was the origin, but Big Bang generally refers to that initial expansion, how the universe is getting bigger. But in terms of all the other things that go on and what caused the Big Bang, that's not Big Bang anymore. You got to go back a step. We got to go into quantum gravity, for example. We don't yet have that. But as far as everything we've got shows, we don't know what happened, which means so far, neither does Atangelo, unless he presents some information we haven't got.
Which he doesn't.
And that's what maybe not alarms me, but at least alerts me to something that might be going on in the background. That the first point that he makes is the universe had a beginning back some time ago. We have a very good understanding of when that time was.
Yeah.
To the point where the cosmic microwave background radiation, which is an amazing prediction of the Big Bang.
Yes.
Actually shows the temperature we would expect if it's concordant with how the universe evolved. In fact, that is something that you do in senior physics. Like if you want to get a physics major, you have to model that. In fact, you go through and you predict what the spectrum will look like from an intensity point of view over different wavelengths, which is just how much of the different lights we see. So you can figure out what the temperature of the universe is, and you can match that back to our theories. Now, I did see something later that it's the first point of one of the next major things, and I think we can get to that, because one of the things that he seems to have there as a problem, I just noticed, is now no longer a problem. We have explained it. And so that gets the 2-1. It was formed by an initial expansion, or as it was stretched out, but I think that's...
Stretched out is not the same as expansion.
And I think stretched out refers to covering the firmament. Probably in terms of the understanding.
Is what it says.
If we're going to the Bible, no, that's cool.
That's what I was asking. I think that because I haven't normally heard it done that way.
But it doesn't say. But the Bible says the stars don't change.
But yeah, the firmament's the most common. Basically, it's like as if the stars and everything are like a curtain, and it's just kind of like put on like the wall.
Well, that was very similar to the understanding of Mithras at the time, where he would cover, like the night was when he would cover the dome with his cloak, and it was an understanding that a lot of people write.
It's almost as if all of these myths that happen to be around the same area could have a common source, or might have taken bits and pieces from each other. Just put that out there.
I mean, look, that was something that even when I was a believer, I always thought there was probably a physical explanation behind a lot of these things we would consider miracles, because I thought, well, if there's an all-powerful God, why would he need to intervene with the laws of physics he came up with in the first place? If he was all-powerful, he could just set it to go the way he wanted.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe that was a weird view for someone to have who was a Christian.
If you're going to say your God is all-powerful and he creates a universe that has the look of being old, and the look of being expanding and having a big bang, which it does, then your God's a lying piece of shit because he's trying to make people not think that he exists.
And I guess we're only tackling, like, at least what in Australia is a fairly, like, minority view. I know it's massive in a lot of other places, particularly America, but and in other religions as well, it's fairly big. I know a fair portion of the Muslim community is also fairly young Earth, or at least they have problems with evolution in a similar way. Because I think the Quran is very similar in its beginning, but I'm not an expert there. But from my understanding, is similar.
Can we slap Gary?
I lost the first one. Sorry, I can't see the chat at the moment because let me move the comments over. Sorry, because I have the blog up.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, it's not showing me my comments. Sorry, I can't actually see the comments.
Gary says it measures longer when stretched out.
You're not missing much. Gary's starting with Darth Dawkins. One Ring's throwing some zingers in there, so that's pretty good. Yeah. There's some funny stuff coming out of One Ring. Ted's getting all sciencey, which is good.
Ted's always getting sciencey. I think Ted's actually more qualified than Matt or I.
I think Ted knows his stuff.
Yeah, I've had talks with Ted. Ted knows his stuff.
Yeah. I think Ted knows his stuff.
I got a lot from Ted at the moment I'm looking at. He sent me a lot of things, so I got to get through that. I will.
The other thing of his thing is that the Big Bang shows a start for the universe. The Big Bang shows a start for our observable universe, not the start of the
local
universe.
instantation of the universe, but not the cosmos.
Yes.
There is a difference.
There's a very big difference.
And this was a problem I had with Matt. I wonder if I'll get any with Artangelo.
No, you won't, because I tried.
On this is that I'm not saying that the multiverse is definitely a thing. I'm not using it as an excuse to explain, but something like that is still more likely because it fits in with the laws of physics and our understanding of the universe that we've already observed. In terms of that there are other things out there.
The universe, you don't even need a multiverse per se. Intermittent Big Bangs throughout a very, very large infinite cosmos could actually be a thing in the universe. So we're just in our own little local Big Bang bit that happened within the larger, almost infinite cosmos that surrounds it. We'd never know because we can't see it, but the universe itself could be both infinite in size and infinite in age. And this is just the new little bit of it that happened.
If you move 1 trillion years into the future, you would not know that the Big Bang had occurred. You would not be able to see it. Because the galaxies would have moved so far away from each other that you will not actually be able to observe the rest of our local universe.
And even if another universe like this created in the middle of it, it wouldn't be able to observe the now expanded rest of the universe that was around it. For the same reasons as we can't. And you wouldn't even be able to see across from one part where you're in this expanded universe that's basically empty. You might see a small light off in the distance would be the best you could hope to have. But the way the universe expands when new things are in it would tend to mean that you wouldn't be able to see anything new like that was happening, not unless you could go faster than the speed of light.
And as far as we can tell, information can't travel faster than the speed of light. So if you want to transfer... Sorry?
As far as we can tell. Yeah.
Yes. Now, you can bend space-time, so it might be possible to develop things that are warp drives where you bend space around you, so you're not traveling in the traditional sense. But we're not quite there yet. But again, just because we haven't got an explanation for X or for Y or for Z, that doesn't mean that
God.
you can... Yeah. And...
we are always finding new physics.
And even if there is a God, that you need to prove it. You need to come forward and say, here is the evidence for it. Because I don't care if the Big Bang didn't happen in terms of the argument for a creator.
So shall we touch on his 6 main points of evidence against the Big Bang?
Yes, otherwise we're going to be here.
We're going to be here all night otherwise.
Do you want me to keep reading for this one?
Yeah, go for it. Because you wanted to do the first one, so... I was going to too, but that's fine. You go for it.
Yes, I did notice this. All right. So now for everyone in the chat, there are 6 points, and he's got the point, a prediction, and then an observation. So we'll start with the first one.
Yeah. Light
elements, lithium and helium. I think I know where he's going with this one, so before we get into it, here's my guess. I want to try it's a Vice Rhino where you try and predict what's going to be said. My guess is because there was a while where the isotope of lithium-3, so that's lithium with 2 protons, 1 neutron, so it was just how heavy the nucleus is, wasn't explained with our current model of how the universe first expanded. For a long time, it was expected to be a lot less of it, but we were finding a lot more. Then it turns out, and this is not quite my area, so I can't go into it for a bit, because I haven't looked at it for a bit either.
It's
but
not
more recently...
either.
Yes, but this is where I'm guessing he's going with it. And I think with helium as well, it's probably a similar case, though I'm not as familiar with the helium one as I am familiar with at least the argument around lithium, is that we would expect to see a lot less of them than we do. However, the lithium at least was fixed a couple of years ago. We've now known for a couple of years where the error in our model was. It was to do with... I think it was something. It was very early on. There was a slight tweak we needed to make to the model, so it wasn't a big problem with the. It wasn't a problem with the Big Bang.
There's a problem with the energy levels during the Big Bang, Matt. And what it was is we found out the lithium-3 can't be created in the early universe. Only lithium-6. So there's only a particular isotope that can be created, and the half-life of lithium-6 is a lot less. But there are still issues with the lithium because there's less of it than we think there should be.
Sorry, I got around the wrong way.
You went the wrong way.
Yeah.
There's less lithium-6 than we think that there should be. However, we also have issues with the early universe in the energy levels that we think that there was may have been enough to actually cause other reactions that actually would have led to slightly more hydrogen and helium than we suspected, which actually is what we observe. So there are solutions for this that would mean that we'd have less lithium than we originally thought we should have had, and it's just got to do with our understanding of the early universe and what the energy levels were, and you've got so many different equations that nuclear equations, not chemical ones, nuclear equations that could come off to fusion equations that could happen that give you the era-ending particles, and you have to balance which ones are more likely in an early sea of subatomic particles, and that's the hard part for us. And quite frankly, saying that we're going to predict exactly this for every single one, we are probably going to get it wrong because we don't know. There are so many things about the early universe we don't know. But yet, despite that, our predictions for how much hydrogen and helium there were in the early universe were spot on.
Yeah. And it's notice that it's even so far, we've only mentioned some of the lighter ones. we have a very good understanding of where most of the elements and their isotopes have come from. And so my guess is that this is going to go, we can't explain exactly how much lithium and helium there is, therefore God, or therefore Big Bang is wrong.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and I want to make this point because I'm going to bring this up a few times probably today and tomorrow and whenever I discuss this. Science is, because I've heard the argument that science changes its mind all the time. Science isn't. Imagine it's like one of those game shows, like a trivia where someone's showing you a picture and it's really blurry and it becomes clearer over time and you got to guess what it is. Science is doing that. As technology, as our ability to obtain information about the world around us gets better, our clarity of this picture of how the universe works gets improved, and so on and so forth. So imagine the first time you look, it's really blurry. You don't really know what you're looking at. There's a blob over here, there's a blob over there, and you're kind of like, okay, I think that's a blob that might be this. Then you get a slightly clearer picture, and it's like, oh, actually, no, it's got a bit more shape. And you slowly, it's not a matter of, oh, we were wrong, we change our mind. It's slowly improving. You're getting more accurate. You're getting a better understanding as you go along. If you want to look at going from Newtonian physics to Einstein's relativity model is a great example of that. Because, yes, Newton knew that his theory didn't explain everything, particularly for his gravitational theories didn't explain everything. And in fact, Newtonian physics is not exactly correct. But as an approximation for anything happening at low speeds, like away from light speed, that is, it's amazing. But as you went up, we needed to just add a bit more to the formulas. In fact, a lot of them can be easily corrected by just putting factors on the front of them that account for relativistic effects.
You can derive Newton's equations from Einstein's equations because one is contained within the other.
Yeah, it wasn't that it was wrong, we suddenly changed our mind. It wasn't because, oh, we have a problem here, so therefore the whole theory is thrown out. It's trying to piece this together as we slowly try and make the picture of our universe clearer. And I don't just mean this in just physics, but it goes for chemistry, biology, microbiology, and just all of the sciences, hard and soft sciences.
Science changes and as medicine, we learn new things. That's the difference between science and religion.
I mean, look, religion has changed over time, and that's that's something I'm not always sure I agree with, because definitely the majority
that's the difference between religion and fundamentalist young Earth creationists.
But I mean, today's fundamentalist was yesterday's progressive.
Well, that's true.
Oh, actually,
they just didn't keep being progressive. That's the problem.
So I was watching one of the videos that Apologia had, where he had the VeggieTales creator on talking about the history of young Earth creationism, and it's a surprisingly young movement. Like, it actually arose in terms of like the big Noah's flood thing from the 50s. You wouldn't actually find many people who thought the world was only 6,000 to 10,000 years old at the turn of the 19th century. Well, not in quite the way it is now. You would have people who kind of...
It just wasn't as widely published, and I think it's like most things, that as technology and how we communicate improves, more ideas are brought to light. I mean, there was very limited resources really prior to the 1950s. There wasn't a lot of people who could publish ideas outside of academia. Even a lot of the Enlightenment philosophers, there was a lot of different thoughts going around at the time, but it's just those are the ones that I guess are the ones that we know of, because
the internet has certainly made it worse.
Absolutely.
Because any idiot with a keyboard can publish anything now.
Yeah, but what
on this one, I stand corrected. I stand corrected here.
Yeah, it's what you probably find is they might have become a bit more mainstream, or just I guess more discussed at that point.
I'd believe that against Hovind, Jen.
Well,
Matt Powell is a sentient cupcake.
Why don't we ask Jay? I mean, Jay's like older than Methuselah, so I mean, he could.
Well, that's the only way you could end up with the BBC.
Yeah. It's just it never stops growing.
Yeah. It's
One
the
day
primary
they'll
cause.
breathe fire.
It's the primary cause of the expansion of the universe.
It's like Ken Hovind's theory on why the dinosaurs got so big. They were just lizards, and lizards never stopped growing. And because they lived to be 1,000
completely
years old,
forgetting that dinosaurs aren't lizards, but that's what the fire reference was for. Have you? As everyone, I imagine not everyone in the chats or watching viewers did it again, but everybody watching, have you heard that argument from Kent Hovind where he thought that dinosaurs breathed fire because they got too big and pushed air too fast out their nostrils, and the friction caused their noses to catch fire?
Yeah. Or
this is why you don't put anything on the internet because it doesn't go.
All right,
he used one about chemicals, and I think he stole it directly from this movie that was about dragons.
Before we get too late for you two, because I know Chris doesn't want to go too late tonight, shall we move on to point 2?
Oh yes, because we're at point 2.
We're only at point 2 of 6.
I never finished reading point 1. Let me get on. Sorry. I don't think we'll talk any more on it, but let me just read it out to see if I got it right, though. Any super hot explosion throughout the universe, like the Big Bang, would have generated a certain amount of the light elements lithium and a large amount of helium. Observation, yet as astronomers have observed older and older stars, the amount of lithium observed has gotten less and less. In the older stars is less than 1/10 of the predicted level. The older stars nearest to us have less than half the amount of helium predicted. However, well understood fusion processes in stars and reactions initiated by cosmic rays have actually predicted the correct amounts of these other light elements. I don't even know what the point is there. Okay.
Well, basically,
this is under scientific evidence
quoting
against
these
Big
things
Bang.
because what he's done is he's looking at an old prediction of the Big Bang Theory and said, hey, it doesn't match, without figuring out that Big Bang Theory isn't what it was 50 years ago. It has changed because we've learnt new things about the early creation of...
You know what you should do tomorrow, Matt? Why don't you read these points to him and say, can you explain this? Can you explain what this means?
Please explain.
Oh, have you read my blog? Yes. Why don't we go through it?
Let's have a look at point
that's
number 1.
brilliant, because then you can hold him to it.
Well, look, some of the... I do actually legitimately want to get his understanding
and he's wrong.
of these. Cause
the older stars have less than half the amount of helium
these people
predicted.
Way too much credit,
is
honestly.
wrong. They actually have exactly what we predicted.
But they do now. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
What I predicted the point would go down of this thing of at one point we didn't quite predict the right amount of these lighter elements, but we have later fixed it. So, all right, next one. Antimatter annihilation. Oh, this is going to be very quickly because I don't want to spend too much on this one. It's the same thing. We expected in the early universe that you should have equal amounts of matter and antimatter. However, it turns out there was a slight asymmetry that meant that every million every million antimatter particles, you have 1,000,001 matter particles. I think that's the right ratio.
He's trying to say here there shouldn't be any asymmetry because there's no reason for there to be an asymmetry, except for the fact that in the LHC, where they've been doing experiments with creating antimatter from baryonic particles in the accelerator, there is always a misbalance. Our universe has a tendency towards matter rather than antimatter. For some reason, baryonic matter in this universe has a preference towards matter.
Yes. So in other words, this was something that was long ago, not very well understood. As our understandings got better, what we see is exactly what's predicted by our current understanding of the Big Bang. We know that on a subatomic particle level, everything's not symmetric, and that seems to be more and more the case. Exactly how asymmetric it is, we don't yet fully understand, but to the extent that this is long gone. But I'll quickly read. Since the intense radiation of the Big Bang would produce matter and antimatter in equal amounts, again, as we already said, that's wrong. We now know it didn't, and we know that it doesn't. So already
hang on. It's in his blog. It must be right.
He Googled it. It has to be right.
Control-C, Control-V is how you get a Tangelo degree.
Mutual
There you go.
annihilation. I
Ted
think
is
that's
giving
meant
you.
to be
Ted is
annihilation.
actually giving you the figures. I told you he was.
Ted,
Uh,
I hope you're around tomorrow night, Ted.
yeah, yeah. Yes, because that's the more helpful, but that's what we're on about. Where was I? Find this. Sorry, it is a lot of text. Mutual annihilation, as I said, I think that's annihilation of particle-antiparticle pairs would reduce the surviving matter density to around 10 to 17 protons per centimeter cubed. Observation: the matter density in the universe observed is at least 10 to 7 10-7 ions per centimeter cubed. He really needs to learn how to write.
His next bit is dreadful.
I don't think we need to finish this one,
read on the next bit because there is a really dumb statement in it about how long protons
more than
live.
10 billion times higher than the Big Bang prediction. No, not the case. We've already discussed that. That's the next line. Full stop and then not even a capital. I can't read this properly. Sorry, guys. I am trying my best to read this as it is. Lifetime of 1,030 years. Of what? He hasn't mentioned
For
anything.
a proton. That's what he was saying. That's what he's saying. The original idea of the lifetime of a...
Oh, I missed a line. Sorry, guys. Big Bang prediction. To try and fix this well-known vast gap, Big Bang theorists propose some unknown asymmetry. No, it's not unknown. We've observed it now.
Yeah, we've observed
between matter and antimatter, which would lead to more production of matter. This has never been observed in laboratory experiments. Wrong.
Yes, it has.
Talk to anyone. Yep. Wrong. Just flat out wrong.
Wrong.
A consequence of this predicted imbalance is the decay of the proton. Protons don't decay.
I will call you up on that,
like
Matt. We don't know, but we know that the upper limit, the lower limit for the decay, the half-life of a proton is, and I brought it up because I couldn't remember it off the top of my head, is, where is it? Proton decay. Sorry, I'm
it's
on the wrong
long.
bit.
I'll keep it. Sorry, while you bring it up, I'll keep
really
reading.
long. It's where is that? Oh, keep going. I'll tell you in a sec.
All right, because we're in the same line. Where was I? Initially predicted to decay with a lifetime of 1030 years or 1030 years.
Yeah. See, where he's wrong is it's
contradicted this prediction with no evidence of decay at all.
The lower bound, which was figured out in the 1970s for the decay half-life of a proton, is 6 times 10 to the 39 years, which is very different to...
Yes, it is.
This is a case if you can't cut and paste.
Yes. So in which case, it looks like our observation that we haven't yet been able to see them decay, and a lab experiment is spot on with that. Again, I think a lot of these points are going to be misunderstood science that we have come a long, long way from. Again, high energy physics, so this kind of particle physics is not my area. I tend to deal more in
Ted's,
light,
actually,
so light matter interactions. But yeah, but
I'm still trying to persuade Ted to come on and actually talk to us about particle physics.
Although, right, to be honest,
maybe next week Ted can go at Angelo.
Ted wouldn't be able to stop himself.
If he doesn't destroy me too bad,
talked
no
to
one
Ted.
So a lot of these points, I think, are just going to be like debunked with a high school level physics. A lot of this I already knew was not the case in high school.
This one is very much a case that whole Tangelo saying a lifetime of 1,030 years is a case of him cutting and pasting something, the cut and paste, removing the scientific notation, and then him thinking that's what the number is.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, because he hasn't got powers in here either.
No, he hasn't at all.
There's no powers.
Yeah.
This is why
10 to 17 protons.
Yeah, anyone who's had to read a lot into science will know that there are ways of representing powers, even if the computer doesn't allow you to do it. Normally, it's just the little kind of up arrow, the little hat symbol. And if you're writing computer program, that is also the symbol most common in most languages for it's to the power of whatever. So yeah, it looks like it's Okay, so it's
Ted
actually
said
10
he'd love
the
to come on
30s.
and talk particle physics with us.
Oh, yay. Because, yeah, that's an
Yay!
area. That's an area I want to know more about, but it's
Yep.
not my area. It's something I've studied a lot, so I'd love to see some of these. All right, next one, surface brightness. I'm going to shut up on this point because I think Jen's going to deal with this better. Maybe, I don't know. Actually,
What are we
surface
talking
brightness,
about?
we'll see. In any expanding universe, an optical illusion makes objects' high redshifts appear larger and dimmer so that their surface brightens. What? Larger and dimmer so their surface brightens?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me either. I was reading it and I read it about 4 times and I'm like, hang on.
The
that doesn't
ratio of the apparent brightness to apparent area declines sharply with redshift.
Because redshift actually become dimmer. There is no apparent brightness increasing of things. Things become dimmer with redshift.
Yeah,
so your apparent brightness is how you see it as, not exactly what its brightness would be. So apparent brightness is always going to be less on an object that's redshifted to compared to what its actual brightness will be. And that's why that makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't know if Ted has any ideas in the chat or anybody else, but I read that and I go, that doesn't make any sense.
I can't believe I'm going to jump to a Tangelo's defense here, but English isn't his first language.
No, that's true.
There may be the occasion. Yeah.
So I think. Oh, sorry. I think in that case we'll just leave that point because
I think it's something you need to bring up with him because I don't think. Yeah. I don't think it's one of his cut and paste things. I think where he hasn't got it right and there's stuff missing in the detail. And trying to follow that through when it doesn't make any sense is you're confusing concepts of apparent brightness and what redshift means.
Ask him what antimatter is. So what's antimatter? A tangent?
Ooh, that'll be a good one.
You should be able to know that one.
4. 2 large structures. I actually 2 large structures as in structures that are too big. I have the feeling we've probably already covered this just looking at the first sentence.
We were talking about the horizon and homogeny of the universe. So basically he's saying, the universe shouldn't have, because the universe should have been homogeneous at the beginning, there shouldn't be structure to the universe now, but there is structure now. Except the universe isn't completely homogeneous at the beginning.
Yes.
The W map of the early... they did actually, and they were wondering how it worked out. But... The W map actually shows it's not the universe wasn't completely homogeneous to start off with. That what we think is the energy levels across the universe were on the larger structures were relatively homogeneous, but when you get it down to the small structures, and when you're talking about the early universe, everything is small. Things break down, and you stop having a completely homogeneous universe. So if you look at the W map of the early universe, so even in the cosmic background radiation, you can see a universe that on the large scale looks homogeneous, but on the smaller scale is not, which is why you end up with larger structures where there's groups of atoms that have collected together, and you end up with things like dark matter grouping together and baryonic matter grouping together, and you end up with things like planets and stars and the cosmic web and all that. Because if you didn't have that unhomogeneous nature in the early W map, you wouldn't get any of this because everything would be consistent, and even in gravity wouldn't have a chance to work. But it did, and that's the point. So the original thing was we thought the universe should be completely homogeneous because for some reason an explosion is supposed to be homogeneous. Not that the Big Bang was an explosion, but people think that things have to be homogeneous when they start from they don't. But the current studies of things show that things aren't completely homogeneous, and even current ideas of things at compact levels shows that there's probably a level of asymmetry to things, even like black holes and stuff like that. So the universe tends towards asymmetry, not symmetry. It's kind of weird that we have symmetry in quantum mechanics, because I would tend to think that things should be asymmetric to a sense, because asymmetry tends to make more sense. Things being perfectly balanced just doesn't. Ted will probably correct me in a minute.
Oh wow! I just saw a sentence in the next one. I was going to say we could skip the next one because we've covered this one as well.
We have.
But then I saw a sentence in it that I really want to go over.
We'll bring it up as part of this one because he's basically talking the same thing because the CMB is smooth. No, it isn't. We've already discussed that.
Yeah. So, sorry, just so anyone who's trying to follow along, the point 5, which we're on now, cosmic microwave background radiation, or CMB, and its anisotropies, which just basically means there's slightly different properties depending on the direction.
Yes.
Which is, although I'm definitely asking what that word means tomorrow. It's just a good litmus test. It's not as though I'm trying to catch him out. I don't want to do that. I just want to check what the understanding is, because that does say a lot. I think... Oh, sorry, I didn't see Ted's first.
Antimatter is exact opposite charge of regular matter. He was explaining antimatter.
Yes, although I think when you go into smaller scale, there are some differences.
There are spin differences between the
charge is
matter
basically
and
the main
antimatter baryons, because you can have. It's weird. Some of your other particles can be both matter and antimatter, so it's weird.
Okay, I'm not going to read all of the next bit because this observation one is bong. And even when he says the prediction initial, which tells me that we've already gone past this in science and it's old news. The CMB is a smooth relic of the initial radiation, the Big Bang. We already covered that. But the sentence I want to go through is the second line into his observation one, where it goes, an unknown force dubbed inflation generated an exponential phase of the Big Bang that blew up the universe. It goes on, but no, nothing blew up.
And he's got this all back to front. Inflation isn't about... look, the whole reason why we need we thought we needed inflation, and we still do to a certain extent, is that the temperature problem of the universe. Not so much the clumping of matter, because that's separate. We know the universe wasn't homogeneous in terms of clumping of matter. He's talking about the temperature of the universe. So where we look in the universe, we see the universe to be the same temperature, and the cosmic background radiation is on average the same temperature everywhere. So this is why we think we need inflation, because to keep the heat levels homogeneous between the various parts of the universe, it must have been fairly close and dense to start off with, because the only way to transfer that heat level is at the speed of light. So once the universe has started expanding faster than the speed of light, you can no longer exchange heat between the various parts of the universe. This is why we thought there must be an expansion. So initially the universe expanded slower than the speed of light. It was able to exchange heat after a few milliseconds, and when it evened out in its temperature, and we're still talking about a universe that's incredibly hot, then it expanded rapidly. And that's quite probable because we do not understand dark matter. And even in the universe, dark energy, not dark matter. We do not understand dark energy. So even in the early universe, dark energy could be an emergent property of a universe. And when you've got all that matter really close together, you're going to end up with a lot of dark energy if the universe is packed with dark energy. So initially, the gravity that would have held most of those particles close together was probably enough to stop expansion until dark energy took over and caused the expansion. This is what we think happened, but we don't know. And that doesn't negate the entire theory. It's just an element of it that we don't completely understand as to why there appears to be an inflation in the early universe. But we may also find out, like we did as far as the homogeny of matter within the universe, that we're just wrong and it isn't homogeneous. And it just looks homogeneous to us because of our vantage point.
Yeah. And again, I think that seems to be the common thread here, is that he's going with a poor understanding of stuff that we have come a long way on. And that's what I was saying earlier about science. It's not we just start here and that, oh no, we were wrong, so we throw it all out the window. We're slowly trying to get a clearer understanding of what went on.
Can I answer Ted's question?
I don't even think it's poor understanding. I think in the Tangelo's case, literally what he's doing is he's cutting and pasting, and then he's using his blog to form his arguments when he's talking to people.
Yeah.
Because he didn't understand basic Bible stuff when I was talking to him, and it's stuff that, once again, this baffles me with some of these apologists. They don't actually. You can talk to them about simple things in the Bible, and it completely goes over their head. And I think it's the same with science for him. I think he's just a cut and paster and a reader.
Ted put up a thing. Here's one that will bake you noodle. Why does matter and antimatter explode into actual nothing? Depends what you're calling nothing. If you're saying no matter, then yes.
Well,
but it's not nothing. It releases energy, so you release. It releases photons, which is still a
why it breaks down. I'm not sure. I can't.
Yeah.
But then again,
why it does break down so that there is no baryonic matter left, I'd love to have that. You can certainly explain that to both Matt and I when you come on, Ted.
Yeah,
I'd love that.
Again, particle physics is not my area. I tend to deal more in spectroscopy and light matter interactions, and I would be more interested also tomorrow trying to go down the route of how 100%. Science is conducted. Yep. It's not. There we go. But okay, so the next point he had on there was dark matter. We've done that to death.
With Ted. I am so looking forward to that.
Yeah. I'll leave that one. The rest of it is just a terrible copy-paste job. He's got a couple of things from Wikipedia by the look of it about the different eras, the early universe. I personally don't care too much about that because it's not useful to the the God debate. We know the universe is old. Doesn't matter what we call them. We know the Earth itself cannot be younger than at least a few, I think it's a couple 100 million years. It just cannot be, particularly to explain the geology we have alone.
I mean, we can get past 6,000 years just with astronomical observations. We can actually...
we can get it with what we're digging out of the dirt.
Yeah, well, what we dig out of the dirt. And
archaeology takes well past 6,000 years.
Astronomical observations just with...
trees take us past 10,000. We get a couple of...
we can detect parallax out to, what is it, close to 5,000 years just with detecting parallax of stars. And because we know how those stars have moved, we can actually figure out that we can go back about 10,000 years. Just with what we were able to discover in our galaxy with the parallax of stars as the Earth goes from one side of the sun to the other. That's it. Done and dusted.
Yeah.
If geometry can show that the universe is older than 6,000 years, the universe is older than 10,000 years.
We can do further now with parallax, with the new technology that's been developed, particularly for telescopes that we can put out further, satellites so we can have orbit out further than us. We can now extend that distance. So parallax, for anyone who's watching, if you hold your thumb, I feel like I've done this before, but
you have actually.
Do it again just in case. It's deja vu. But for anyone who hasn't seen it, if you hold your thumb out and close one eye, and then switch to the other eye, so your left eye's open, then right eye, then left, right, left, you'll notice that your thumb moves side to side. Now, with a bit of maths and a bit of trig, knowing the distance between my eyes, I can figure out how far away my thumb is. And as the Earth moves around the sun, it's the same thing. You observe it from one side, that's like the left eye, and then you observe it when it's on the other side of its orbit. And you can do this all the way around for different points of the universe. But as these objects seem to move and sway in our vision, you can use a bit of basic trig and figure them out. Now, that distance is limited because, again, resolution, you need to start moving your observation points further and further apart to see things distance. So we couldn't observe other galaxies with that. We need other methods, but we can look at Type 1A1 super. I think it's A1N1. No, A1 supernovae. Our standard candles you can do that with. But we are developing better satellites that we can use to actually extend that out so that we can use parallax to see further and get a better map of what's around us. We've got several different types of
standard candles, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it even called.
That's the one I go to because it's the one I've actually specifically studied.
For anyone who doesn't know what Type 1A are, that's where you have a neutron star orbiting another star, and it's siphoning mass off the larger star. And once it gets to a limit, and I can't remember what the limit is, what it's called, it's got a Russian name, named after the Russian guy who mathematically calculated it. No, it's not Chenkov. Chenkov's the radiation you get with particles of light moving faster than the speed of light in water. I can't remember what it's called. I know you had to look this up last time because I couldn't remember what it was called.
I've already forgot, but it's probably here in my...
what's the limit called? Help us, Ted. So once you get to a certain level of mass on top of the neutron star basically goes into nova. It's not a supernova, but it novas, so it blows off that outer shell. We know exactly how bright that should be because we know how much mass is on it. I have my
notes here.
Yeah, your notes.
I'll find it somewhere.
So we know exactly how bright that's going to be because we know exactly what the mass of the star is that's exploding. So, but if we know how bright something's going to be,
maybe this was a bit outside of what we did.
How much matter's coming off it? We can then see what the observed brightness is, what we see it as, and then compare that to what the brightness is we know it should be, and not neutron star or white dwarf. Okay. And then we know
that one's mass though, so maybe we're not thinking of that one. But is that the Chandrasekhar mass?
Yeah,
that's
that actually
not it,
is it? Yeah, that might be it.
But I know it's not clear on the camera, but just to point out that this is not simple. Like you can see
it's hard.
How many formulas? That's one slide of a whole
parasitic
lecture
orbits.
series.
Yes,
we did
exactly,
on this.
Ted. So basically, the little star that is stealing matter off the bigger star explodes, or throws.
I got that too.
There are two ways of doing it because they can throw off their outer edges, or they can actually explode.
So I got the notes.
But we know exactly how bright those
explosions,
those two types of explosions are. In fact, there's one that's happened recently, and this is a white dwarf, 5,000 light years away in the Milky Way galaxy. It happened a couple of weeks ago. One of these stars that was cannibalizing the other star blew off its outer shell as a nova. I mean, it's only just visible with the naked eye because that type of nova isn't that bright.
That's inaccurate, Jim. It didn't happen a couple of weeks ago. If it was 5,000 light years away, it happened 5,000 years ago.
Oh, for goodness sake. We saw it a couple of weeks ago. Thank you.
Checkmate.
Checkmate, atheist.
Okay, it happened 5,000 years and a couple of weeks ago it happened. But yes, you are right, Chris. But yeah,
score one for the atheist pastor.
I'm going to clip that.
Oh, you should. That was well done. But yeah,
but see, look, when we get corrected, we accept it.
Yeah, because it's very easy to say, "Oh, it got observed a couple of weeks ago." It happened to get so it happened.
Well, hang on.
From saying that to saying it happened a couple of weeks ago, I know.
Read that, though? I mean, if you read that in the Guardian, I retract what I said.
I didn't read it in the Guardian. I can link the scientific paper actually because I think I've still got it open.
The scientific paper doesn't count.
So only Guardian papers count.
Only the Guardian counts.
All right, should we move on to the last one because we're getting close to it and we've been going for an hour and a half.
Last one, wait, didn't we do dark matter? Am I looking on which point are you looking at? Because the rest to me is just Control C, Control V, and a couple of quotes. Oh, I thought we've already covered everything in dark matter.
Yeah, we kind of did. So his next point was dark matter. Mysterious particles, but despite huge experiments to find them, But the point is, we know that it exists. That it's like you're saying, because we call it dark matter, we know exactly what it is. No, we're saying we don't know what it is, but we know it exists.
But we have a good understanding of the sort of things it could be
and what it can't be.
The sort of properties it must have. It's not as though we have no idea and it's just, we got to plug it in to make it work. It's there. We haven't got a clear picture of what it is, but we're working towards it.
Yeah.
And when scientists say they don't have a clear picture, that doesn't mean that we have no idea. People are working on it. And it's not as though people haven't got anywhere either.
Oh, I so want to talk about supernova and hypernova with you, Ted. And particle physics. Oh, we're going to have fun on that stream.
I'm just going to sit back and let Ted go.
That's just going to be one where everyone's going to sit back and say, I didn't understand it, but I know I've learned something.
Yeah.
I'll happily learn stuff on those. Astronomy is one of my favorite science areas of interest. If I don't want to go. It's not.
Ted's areas are quite broad, so yeah, it'll be interesting to have a good talk with him about it. So And he's like us. He goes off the topic too. So it could end up being a long stream, but we'll enjoy it.
And Triple D wants him to debunk Ted. Oh dear.
Yes,
the rest of the board just looks like
Ted
he's
wants
copying
to come,
and pasting.
Ted said he'll come on a couple of times, and can we do quantum mechanics first, please? Yes, please.
He can deal with that one. I'll sit back and relax and ask the questions.
Oh, I'll ask questions too. I know enough to be quite often corrected. That's how I'll explain it. I know enough to be corrected. But yes, it'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, actually, I think we've covered through one more point.
Sorry,
I was going to say
there was just because this one was just like, oh, this is just irking me. This one. So this is quite a fair bit down the blog, if anyone is following. Mm-hmm. The Big Bang's 15 failed predictions and failures to predict. There's a link to kgov.com. I don't know what that is, but we'll just see. Physics tells us that our current understanding is wrong. I think we've covered that point to death. Yeah. Cosmologists would rather invent dark matter than admit they're wrong. Ken, no, we know it exists. We don't fully understand what it is. That's different. A survey of the motion of stars near us has determined that there is no dark matter in our vicinity. Wrong. We pass through a band of dark matter every 300 million years, or is it 100 million years? I forget the exact time scale, but we pass through a band that roughly occurs with how often we have mass extinction events.
Yeah, there's actually, because if you take our galaxy as being around this way, there's actually a band of stars and dark matter that comes in a big loop that ducks up and down through our galaxy, and the arms of the Milky Way actually pass through this, and it passes through them and interferes with them on a regular basis because of the way the star and dark matter. What they think it is it's a form of dwarf galaxy that's actually been torn apart by the Milky Way, and there's just this band of dark matter and stars. There's not a lot of stars, it's mostly dark matter, and the Milky Way passes through it. There's also evidence that the Milky Way may have another arm.
Now, just so everyone knows, I had a look to see what kgov.com is, and that would be Bob Enyart Live, who hosts a couple of radio shows on the internet, including Real Science Radio and Theology Thursday.
Oh, God, so he's quoting another young earther.
You know you are getting some pretty solid evidence there. So.
Well, considering that every sentence I've read out of this piece so far has been wrong, doesn't say a lot about the source, does it?
Yeah.
It doesn't predict the numbers we have been... No, again... I'm not sure if I can keep going with this. Let me skip a bit. Let's see if it gets any bigger. The Big Bang assumes homogeneity. No, it does not. And the cosmological constant.
And it says the square root of -1 reveals the creator.
He's imaginary. He's imaginary. We're done.
There's some...
I mean,
evidence against the Big Bang. Oh,
yeah, this really comes down to Tangelo just cut and paste with not knowing what you're talking about is the worst thing you can do.
Sorry, I need to correct something in the chat. Something that's completely wrong, and we can't let it stand.
Who?
One ring has said that KGov is even better than the Guardian. Nothing is better than the Guardian. Nothing.
Yeah. Because the Guardian tells us that it's better than is the best. Yeah. So
what about the New York Post?
No, the Guardian.
It's not the Guardian.
If it ain't the Guardian, it ain't academic.
Oh, anyone who's watching back at this in the distant future without actually knowing the context of what's happened with Chris's very friendly rant is going to be like, why do they keep having a go at the Guardian? I reckon if any of us try going into politics, they're going to pull up,
this Guardian
try and clip us.
Like their Bible.
Well, you've got to trust the Guardian of the Galaxy. That's all there is to it.
Are you telling me that intergalactic war broke out because someone was going to the shops and they asked, "Do you want anything?" and the other guy answered, "Yes, get me a galaxy." Sorry. Sorry. Let's have a look at this. There's one here that's having a go at how all of the galaxies look the same, and I'm just like,
oh, give it Mega Nuts that one.
Really?
Montangelo is using the wall versus spaghetti method of science.
Oh, you have to use that line, Matt, at some point.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to feel like I'm attacking him if I say all this, but at some point...
No, go for it. Go for it. Atangelo's a very friendly person on the stream, but he's a troll and a keyboard warrior. You do what you got to do.
He is.
I will have to go soon as well.
I think we might wrap it up anyway. I think Matt's had a bit of preparation for tomorrow here.
I can't actually see anything else that's worth going through because it's all the same. Just he's gone through and found people saying there's, at the very least, there's some problem we don't fully understand about Big Bang, and so he's copied and pasted as go there. The Big Bang's wrong, and I'm just like, this still doesn't prove creation.
So therefore,
even if you could prove the Big Bang is wrong, it doesn't prove creation. It's the same with if you disprove evolution, it doesn't say creation. It's not a this or that. These are not a binary thing at all.
And most Christians believe in the Big Bang. A lot of them think that God had a hand in starting it, but most of the ones I've met don't have too strong of opinion on this, and I get on fine with them. There's a lot of them make great scientists. I'm not having a go at any of them. But it's this kind of pseudoscience, let's just attack things because it doesn't fit with my understanding.
You need to make a bingo card tomorrow night for Antangelo.
Oh, yes, please. Please. Chris, can you have one ready?
Intermittently, anyone who's watching tomorrow night, once we get a little way into it, people need to just start typing out bingo in the chat. Just randomly type out.
No, we need a bingo card. And we need to distribute it to everyone and see if bingo first.
I'll just come in with a number. That's legs 11. Legs 11.
Yep, if you're going to cut and paste, make sure you're correct and current. That was the big thing that I pointed out to Antangelo last week, that what he was talking about was stuff from 2006 or something like that. And I said, we've got more science now, Antangelo. Science doesn't stop. It keeps going.
Here we go. I'm just going to read the description on the side of this post, and I think on that note,
we'll end on that. We'll end with that, Matt. But before you do that, Chris, tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night. Come and watch Matt get his ass handed to him by Atangelo. Because Atangelo knows real science, and clearly Matt doesn't. So, no, I'll be moderating a conversation between the two of them. It'll be fun. It'll be interesting. We're going to work out a drinking game or a bingo game or something to help us all get through it. But
I will have whiskies here. I got to go nowhere on Monday.
I think I'll do the same. But that's over on the Hereticals channel. So if you're not subscribed to Hereticals, subscribe to Hereticals. You get to see more of Jen. Jen shows up every week.
They can't get rid of me.
Matt's showing up a fair bit too, so, it's sort of...
Matt's on a fair bit. Claire's becoming a bit of a regular. We love you, Claire.
I know. She's getting a part of the six-pack crew. So, we have fun. We don't take ourselves too seriously, apart from when we tackle serious topics. But even then, we tend to just do what we do. It's fun. Come and have a look, subscribe, and if you don't like it, well, don't watch it.
Before Matt finishes us off as well, thank you to Chris, who's here, for being here tonight, and also because Chris is also a Patreon for the channel, and to Jade, who's a Patreon, and Dog, who's also a Patreon, and if you feel you can support the channel a little bit, especially so Matt and I can do some more fancy things, please support us on Patreon.
Well, hang on.
I wanted to use the graphic. That's all, because I forgot last week.
I used to be a preacher, so let me channel back to my old time talk.
Oh, go for it.
I know that there's a few of you out there, and you've really had on your heart that you want to give and you want to help support Jen's ministry. Well, I'd just like you to just close your eyes, and we're not going to put any pressure on, but if you feel that the Lord is telling you that you need to donate some more, if the Lord is telling you that you need to not be a $2 Patreon, but a $3 Patreon, I'm going to challenge you to stretch, show your faith. You give, and you will be rewarded back. So yeah, go join Jen's Patreon. That's good. I'm one of them, and it's worth it.
Love you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
So yeah, everyone's links is down in the descriptions. The link to the Patreon is down in the description. Thank you all. And Matt, take us out.
On that, let's have a look at this. Otangelo, admin, posts 6,019. Join date, 2009, the 8th of the 9th, age 54, location somewhere in Brazil. This is old. Like this, what's the youngest reference we can find here? It's got to be a few years old. That's not how science works.
No.
I don't. I don't think I need to elaborate on that.
No.
That is pretty impressive. 6,020 posts. That's one for each year that the Earth's been around.
Oh, who was the bishop who decided that it started on like 11 a.m. on a Tuesday?
Aquinas.
Oh.
Was it Aquinas? Yeah.
Yeah, Aquinas is when he did the calculation.
Aquinas.
Wasn't it?
I know Bishop Usher was the first one to do it to get 6,000, but I don't think he got the exact date. And it was a later one came along and actually calculated the exact time of day that a creation was meant to have occurred. And I'm just like, wait, how do you get that?
By the way, Frank is praying to Carl Sagan for you.
I will also accept prayers in the form of Joe Pesci.
Yeah, James Usher it was.
Oh, it was Usher, was it? Okay.
Yeah, James Usher.
I knew he came up with the dates. I didn't think he did the exact time of day.
Bless you, maybe in the name of Hawkins.
Yeah. around 6 p.m. on the 22nd of October 4004 BC.
All right. Thank you to everybody who joined us. Thank you to Chris for joining us for this show. It's been an awful lot of fun. Thank you, Matt. Good luck tomorrow, Matt. You're going to need it.
Yeah. You're going down.
And everyone in the chat who hanged out for a lot of this, you guys are absolutely awesome. You helped make the show. Without you, this would be impossible anyway. Thank you all. We'll catch you next week on this show. I will see you over on Hereticals in between. No, I won't this week. We're like, and we won't be on next week because I'm away. I forgot about that. The week after.
You're abandoning
I'm away. That's right. I forgot about that. There won't be a show next week. There'll be a show the week after. Matt and I were going to pre-record one for next week, but because I've been ill most of the week, it didn't happen. So we're actually just going to take a break next week, and we'll be back the week after. I may try and organise with Ted to get him on for that week, just so we can have a bit of fun with Ted, talking about quantum mechanics. And yeah, love you all. We will see you soon. Bye.